Hello all, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In the last two videos, I had explained the significance of Oracle Advanced Collections module as well as the critical setups or the system options kind of things which are involved in the Oracle Advanced Collections module. And now I'll proceed with the collections workbench in the current video. So in the collections workbench, I can show you what are the different activities which can be done in collections workbench. So at a high level, these are the four different transactions which you can perform in a collections workbench: creation of adjustments, disputes, payment to promise, and the payments. So before we get into the details of this, first of all, we need to understand what is collection workbench. Okay. So first, let me get into the concerned responsibility. You can access collections workbench from collections agent responsibility. So here I'm logging into collections agent Reliance Telecom responsibility. Reliance Telecom is my operating unit. So this is where you access the collections workbench. It is a, as the name itself says, it's a single workbench through which you can access everything related to the customer, his credit limits, the total number of invoices which are due, what the history of all the invoices, credit memos, debit memos, payment, DSO, which is the days sales outstanding calculation, and whatever the customer interactions, whatever you had with the customer, you can store them under your notes or tasks. So everything related to the customer can be stored or can be seen from this particular single collections workbench window. Okay, we'll take one example. ABC Holdings Private Limited is one customer. Okay, let me search for this customer. Okay, so once you enter this customer, you can see the collectible transactions are 27 transactions. There are totally 27 transactions which are due against this particular customer, and these things will actually pop up once you actually click on this drop down. Okay, so this is basically your customer account number. Okay, so you can see. Also, let me select the operating unit. Okay. Okay. So once you enter the operating unit, you can see a couple of other additional details. Okay, so here you can see there are totally 27 collectible transactions against this particular customer, and the total net balance is 165,970 USD. DSO, which is the days sales outstanding, again there's a calculation behind the scenes, and the credit limit, credit hold flag, profile class, the person, the collector who is associated with this particular customer. Again, these things are actually coming up from the customer master. So just give me a minute. I'll show you from where system is actually pulling these details. Let me explain the other details. Like past year installments, there are totally 25 past year due installments. On time, there is one. Unpaid, there are 24. Late, and then past year promises, how many promises are created in the past year, broken and open, and so on. So this give a high level overview of the profile information related to this particular customer. Okay, now let me show you from where system is actually pulling these details: credit limit, credit hold flag, credit rating, profile class, collector name. So these are all coming from the customer master. So let us search for this customer and then check these values. So go to accounts receivable responsibility, customers, create and maintain customers. Details. Sorry. And then go to account profile tab. Okay, here you can see credit checkbox is checked. There is no credit hold. That's the reason why there we were able to see credit hold as no. Collector name is Arvind. Credit rating is blank, and hence you can see credit rating as blank in the collections workbench. Let me just open that. collections agent, collections, and then search for this collector, and then click on this drop down, and then select my operating unit. Okay, credit limit, credit hold flag is no. Let me go back here. Credit hold is no, and profile class is default. Profile class is default. Collector is Arvind, and then credit limit. So you can go to profile of the profile amounts, and yeah. So there are no credit limits for other currencies. So for USD currency, you can see the credit limit of I think it's 15 million, and that is what is actually appearing here. Okay. Or sorry, it's 1.5 million. And there are some other calculations here, average days late and other stuff. Okay. So this is about profile tab. Now coming to the history. So within history, you will be able to see these values. What are the adjustments, whatever is created against this particular customer, disputes, interactions, payments, all other correspondence related to this particular customer will be appearing in this particular screen. If you go to account tab, again, it will show you more or less whatever you can see here. The account number, the account status, whether it's active or inactive, net balance, and then statement cycle. So this is the critical one, transactions. So when you click on transactions, it will show all the transactions of this particular customer in single screen. You can see the original amount, remaining amount, days late, due date, and what exactly the invoice, the transaction class, whether it's invoice or a debit memo, and so on. And here you can see different transaction classes. If I select all, then it will show you all transactions of this particular customer which is due between these dates. Remember, this is not a transaction date, this is a due date. So let me change it to say 2000. All the transactions which are due between these two dates and which are still due as of now and which are not closed. You can see all the invoices of this customer. So this is basically all those 27 invoices. Okay, so this is how you can see all the invoices related to that particular customer. And now if you want to navigate to that particular transaction workbench to get further details about this particular invoice, you can okay, so first go to full screen. Okay, and then click on navigate transaction workbench. Once you click on navigate transaction workbench, system will get into the transaction workbench and give you the details of this 33,000 invoice. This is the invoice. This is the transaction workbench in your receivables module. So you can check everything related to that particular customer. You can check your balance. You can go to your line items, everything. So it's basically you can get into the transaction workbench in AR from the collections workbench to get the further details about that particular transaction or the invoice. Okay, and if you want you can also ideally, I don't know why it's not enabled, but ideally you can also export all these lines to a Excel. I think it's anyways, but otherwise generally it's this should be enabled wherein you can export all these transaction lines to an Excel. Okay, so that's related to this particular transactions. Now if you go to say life cycle tab, I don't know, I never use this life cycle tab. Anyways, get into aging. Aging is basically for all your outstanding invoices. What exactly is the aging amount based on your different uh, aging bucket? The aging buckets here. So if you see here, over 90 days there are 24 invoices which are due. Between 61 and 90 days there is no invoices, but between 31 and 60 days there is one invoice which is actually due. Let me check if actually it gives the details of those transactions. Yeah. So it is actually giving the details of those transaction which is making up the 24 number there. So again, if you want to get the details of that particular one invoice which is falling under this aging bucket, click on these transactions. It is showing that particular invoice. Okay, so this is how you can again view the details of different invoices and which falls under different aging buckets. Notes. So notes, this is a screen wherein you record the notes or the correspondence whatever you had with the customer. So whenever you had some kind of an interaction with the customer, you would have maybe called the customer, sent an email, and then you want to make some kind of a notes related to that particular correspondence, you can actually add this here. So just click on, put your cursor here, and then just click on plus to add a new note. And what exactly is the note type? So it's a callback, or what exactly is that? It's complaint, or whether it's a meeting with the customer. So let me check meeting with the customer. You can just mention that Mr. Arvind had a meeting with ABC Holdings Private Limited on March 30th to check with customer the status of the payment status of different invoices. Save this. See, once you save this, you'll be able to see that notes here. So later point in time, you can just come here and then cross check the notes. Okay. Next is task. So task is something like an activity which needs to be performed by a collector. So here you can create some kind of a task and assign it to the collector. So here let us assume I create a task of saying I need to call customer on so and so date. So I say type as callback and name call customer, owner type, who is the owner, employee resource. So and who is the owner, Arvind. Okay, call customer to check the payment details. And when it is scheduled, say 30th March evening, 6 p.m. Save this. Okay, so once you save these details, it will appear as a task for the collector Arvind. So once I explain about the universal UWQ, which is universal work queue, so there I'll explain about these kind of tasks. So whatever the task which you create in your collections workbench, those tasks will appear in your collections universal work queue or collections queue against the particular collector. Okay, so similarly you can create any number of tasks and you can assign it to any different collectors or any number of collectors. Okay, so this is about the collection workbench. Now let me get into the 4 transactions which you can perform in the collection. First thing is creation of the adjustments. So let us assume this is my invoice, or maybe rather I'll take this invoice. I want to create an adjustment transaction against this particular invoice. You have 2 options. You can get into accounts receivable and you can create an adjustment. As soon as you create an adjustment transaction in accounts receivable module, automatically your remaining amount you will get decreased here. That is one option. Second option, you can create an adjustment here itself, and if the adjustment is already in approved status, automatically you can see the impact of this in the transaction workbench in here. So both are seamless. Like as soon once you create an adjustment in here, you will be able to see updated balance here, and you should also able to see the adjustment transaction here. And once you create an adjustment transaction here, that will get reflected in your accounts receivable. So you can click on this adjustment processing to create the adjustment transaction. So this activity name is nothing but your receivable activities which are created under this operating unit. So I'm selecting receivable activity of say bad debts, and I want to create a line level adjustment of say, I just want to decrease the balance by say $200. I'll just say minus 200. And I already have required approval limits under Reliance Telecom against this particular currency, and hence as soon as I enter an adjustment, automatically the status is in approved status. If I do not have required approval limits, then the normal approval process follows, that wherein an approver of the adjustment needs to log into your maybe accounts receivable responsibility and then approve the adjustment. Save this and then click on submit. Close this. Okay, now refresh this. So earlier your remaining amount is 3,300. Now let us refresh this. Now you can see the remaining amount is 3,100. We can very well now go back to your transaction workbench. Let me get into full screen and check that adjustment transaction. Navigate. Transaction. Let me also. Okay. Close this. Yeah, I can also go transaction workbench from here. Okay, now this should take me to the transaction workbench screen, and in the transaction workbench, which is owned by your receivables application, you should be able to see the corresponding adjustment, whatever I have created. See, $200. You can also check from here actions, installments, activities, and the adjustment. Okay. Even you can create an adjustment here, and that should get automatically reflected in your collections workbench. I'm not getting to that scenario now. Okay. So that's how you create your adjustment, and if there are required approval limits, automatically your adjustment should be approved, and you should be able to see the updated remaining balance here. Now, next thing is dispute. How do you create a dispute, and what is dispute? Dispute is basically whenever you call a customer, you have an interaction with the customer, and customer disputes an amount, saying that he is not going to pay this because of so and so reason. So, as a collector, generally this collection workbench is owned by your collector. So as a collector, once you had your discussion with your customer, and if the customer raises the dispute for say in this example say $500, you can create a dispute from the collection workbench. And once the dispute is created, if you have the required workflow being set up, the dispute will be approved, and once the dispute is approved, automatically will get converted as a credit memo in the accounts receivable. Unfortunately, in this testing environment, I do not have those setups, so I'll just show you how to create a dispute. And once the dispute is approved, automatically you should be able to see the see that your dispute gets created as a credit memo in your accounts receivable. And once the credit memo is created, again you can come back to your workbench, and in this particular workbench you should be able to see the particular credit memo here. But okay, now let me show you how to create a dispute. Okay, click on this transaction details, dispute reason. So dispute reason, as I mentioned, that disputes are nothing but a credit memo. So when you click on the drop down, dispute reasons are nothing but your credit memo reason codes. Even in your AR, whenever you create a credit memo, you need to mention the credit memo reason code. So the same is appearing here. So let me just say damaged product and dispute section, whether you want to dispute the tax amount or a freight amount or a line amount, or it's a combination of everything like line subtotal. If I select line subtotal, then system will try to create a dispute for $2,800. This is the line subtotal outstanding amount. And if I select say freight, it's a zero because there is no freight here. And if I select say tax, it's $300. Obviously, it will show only the outstanding amount. Or I have other combination like specific invoice lines plus tax. So if I say specific invoice lines plus tax, that's not showing. Okay, I need to enter here. Yeah. When you say specific invoice line, so for each of the specific invoice line, I need to specify your dispute amount. Okay. So now let me create a dispute for say tax line, $300. So for this particular tax line, again, now I have a kind of an option whether I want to create a dispute for against say 10% of the $300 outstanding amount, or if I want, I can even mention the amount instead of say 10% or some. I can mention say fixed amount, say maybe $250. Okay, and then I can put some kind of a comment as discussed with customer and customer comment. So there is an option in the your collection setup checklist that whenever you perform any kind of a transaction in the collection workbench, whether you want a correspondence to be sent to the customer. So if you set it as yes, then automatically an email gets generated depending on the option, whatever you have set up there, email or print. If it is an email, automatically email gets generated and it will be sent to the customer. And in the particular email printout, whatever the comment, whatever you mention here, that will be actually sent to the customer. So you can just say, hello ABC Holdings, as discussed with Mr. Arvind, we are creating this dispute transaction in our system. Okay, click on dispute button. As soon as you click on dispute button, a dispute number will get generated here, which is 5596. So click on close. Okay, now if you see here, if you refresh this, you can see a dispute is created for $250 and your dispute date is 30th March 2020. If I click on this transaction, if I click on this transaction details button again, here I can see that there is a dispute total of $250. So if I try to again say create a dispute, I can create a dispute only for the remaining $50. Yeah, because there is already a pending dispute which I had already created. And now if you go to history and search for dispute, you'll be able to see the dispute whatever I have created. Yeah, this is the dispute, and here you can see it's pending for approval. And as it is pending for approval, as it is not yet approved, I still have an option to cancel the dispute. I can do a cancellation. This is created by mistake. Okay, now let's go back to this transaction and requery this. So once you requery, you can see the dispute amount is 0 and dispute date is blank, because and your remaining amount is automatically increased because you have cancelled your dispute. So this is how you create a dispute, and before dispute is being approved, you can cancel that dispute. If the dispute is not cancelled, it goes to approval depending on whatever the approvals which you have rules which you have written. Generally approval workflow will be written using your approval management engine, which is AME, and there you can write your different rules, and once it is approved, a credit memo will get created in your accounts receivable module. The next thing is payment to promise. So again, you can click on this payment processing, go to this promise tab. So when you say payment to promise, it's basically you had a call with the customer, and the customer has actually promised that he's going to pay, say, on 31st of March, say $3,100, or maybe 31st of March he's going to pay say $1,500, and then on the 11th of April he agreed that he's going to pay us the remaining balance, which is $1,600. Okay, so this is promise to pay. So the significance of this promise to pay is basically you are creating a promise transaction wherein customer has promised that he's going to pay an amount on so and so date. If the customer do not make the payment on so and so date, then automatically your customer will become a delinquent. So that means there is actually a program which is run behind the scenes. Once the program is completed, it is going to cross check. Say, take an example that particular program is scheduled on a daily basis. On 31st of March, once that particular program runs, it is going to cross check whether the customer has actually made a payment of that $1,500. It is going to cross check the receivables receipt. If the receipt is not received, then system will treat this particular customer as the broken. So broken will be yes here. Okay. And again, in this example, for 11th of April, it is going to again cross check whether the customer has actually made the payment. If the customer has not made the payment, the status will be broken. And as soon as there are broken promises, the collection status of the customer will change from current to say delinquent. And if the customer becomes a delinquent status, you have other strategies or scoring engines behind the scenes which will do different calculations if the customer is actually delinquent. And in some cases, you also charge interest if the on different invoices with the customer billings if the customer becomes a delinquent. So save this. Submit. Okay, the action will create a delinquency of status current. It is still current. Say yes. Okay, you can say collectible. Broken is no. So in the current example, it is actually 31st of March. So after 31st of March, run this particular program IEX promise reconciliation, and this particular program is going to cross check whether the receipt is received in the accounts receivable module against this particular invoice. If it is not received, then the status of this particular record will change from broken to yes, no to yes. And this is again this is a process which will actually change the status of these records, and this is a report which will give you the details of those broken promises. Okay, now again click on this display. Here you should be able to see against this particular invoice. You can see promised yes, okay, paid no, and then you should not be able to see any broken promise details. You can also query for that under your history tab. Query for promise, yeah, promise. And you can see, yeah, this is a one promise. I think, yeah, these two we have created. Yeah, 31st of March and 11th of April, we have created two promise, $1,500 and $1,600. Okay, and then yeah, promise broken is blank because it is not it. The promise is not it broken. So once you actually run that particular program, again this particular program will also cross check. There is actually a profile of there is actually a option whatever you have mentioned at the number of days whatever you have mentioned in your collections setup checklist as to after how many number of days after a promise date whether the transaction is to be considered as a broken. We have selected that particular value as 1, so that means after 1 day. So in the current example the promise date is say 31st of March. So on the next day, that is on 1st of April, once you run that particular program, automatically this particular record will be considered as a broken promise. So in this example, after 11th of April, that is when you run this particular program on 12th of April, when I say this particular program, I'm referring to this particular program, IEX promise reconciliation, this particular record will be considered as the broken promise. Okay, so this is how you create your promises to pay transaction and then run this particular program to check if the promise is broken or not. The last one is about payment. Again, in the collection setup checklist, you have actually mentioned whether collectors are authorized to create payments. If in our current case, we have set it as yes. So if you want, you can go through my previous video wherein I had given the details of all those setup checklist values. Okay. So in the current case, we have actually set it as yes. So that's the reason why collector should be able to create a payment within the collection workbench. When I say create a payment, that is basically whenever the collector calls the customer can provide his bank account details or credit card details, and based on that, he can create a payment transaction, which is nothing but AR receipts. So go to your transaction workbench. Maybe pick up this particular record. Click on payment processing. So here you have bank transfer. So the bank account details, and then under credit card, you need to specify your card number and other details, and then click on submit and close. Obviously there are a lot of setups involved here, so your payment gateway and a lot of other stuff is involved. So once all those setups are done, once you submit this and all those setups are done, then these transactions should be able to create a receipt in your AR module. And once the receipt is created, again you should be able to see the outstanding balance getting reduced in your transaction workbench. Of course, again, in my testing environment, I do not have all those setups, so just thought of showing you how to create a payment transactions from your uh, collections workbench. Okay, so this is how you create all these transactions from your collections workbench. And in my next video, I'll talk about UWQ, which is universal work. Thank you. Thanks for watching my video. For interesting videos on Oracle Financials, please do subscribe to my channel. Thank you.